Let's get straight to it. Number 10, the machine that shouldn't exist. A lump of corroded bronze sits in a museum drawer for decades. Nobody knows what it is. In 1901, sponge divers off the Greek island of Antikythera pulled it from a shipwreck. It looked like useless rock, but CT scans revealed something impossible. At least 30 precision-cut bronze gears, interlocking with a level of miniaturization that shouldn't have existed for another millennium. The device tracked the sun, moon, and 5 known planets. It predicted eclipses. It even counted down to the Olympic Games, dated around 100 BC. And then nothing. No blueprints. No earlier prototypes. No later copies. Someone built a working analog computer, and the knowledge to build another one simply died with them. Number 9, the book nobody can read. Here's one that still bugs archaeologists. A 240-page manuscript, carbon dated to the early 1400s, sits in Yale's rare book library. It's written in an alphabet that matches no known language. The illustrations show plants that don't exist, star charts nobody recognizes, and women bathing in green liquid through tubes. The writing itself behaves like a real language. Consistent word lengths, realistic letter frequency, patterns that don't look random. Codebreakers who cracked German military ciphers in World War II tried and failed. Researchers using modern computational and AI-based analysis have also failed. You can go read it today. You just won't understand a single word. Number 8, an entire civilization we can't read. Picture discovering ruins as advanced as ancient Egypt, cities with underground plumbing and standardized weights. Now realize you can't read a single word they left behind. The Indus Valley script belonged to the Harappan civilization, spanning modern Pakistan and northwest India between 2600 and 1900 BC. It covered more territory than Egypt and Mesopotamia combined. Thousands of inscribed seals have been found. Almost every inscription is painfully short, about 5 symbols on average. No Rosetta Stone equivalent has ever surfaced. No bilingual text to crack it open. Some linguists argue this might not even be a written language at all. One of the largest Bronze Age civilizations on the planet, and nobody alive can read a complete sentence they wrote. Number 7, the colony that vanished without a fight. This one hits different for American audiences. In 1587, English colonists settled Roanoke Island off the coast of North Carolina. Their leader, John White, sailed back to England for supplies. War with Spain delayed him for 3 years. When he finally returned in August 1590, the entire settlement was gone. Not burned, not looted, carefully dismantled. The only clue was a single word carved into a post. Croton, the name of a nearby island and an allied native tribe. A storm forced White to abandon his search before he could investigate. Some researchers believe the colonists peacefully relocated and were absorbed into local communities. Scattered European artifacts found inland support this. But after 400 years, no confirmed grave, no definitive descendant, and no final explanation has ever surfaced. America's own unsolved mystery. Number 6, the message meant to be read from the sky. Nobody expected this one. Hundreds of dead straight lines and over 70 animal and plant figures etched into the Peruvian desert between 500 BC and 500 AD. Some stretch longer than 3 football fields. The Nazca lines were made by clearing away reddish surface stones to expose pale ground underneath. They've survived for 2,000 years in one of the driest climates on Earth. The problem? From ground level, they're invisible, just scattered lines in the dirt. You can only see the hummingbird, the monkey, or the spider from high in the air. Theories range from astronomical calendars to ceremonial walking paths to rituals for water. Each theory fits a few lines. None explain all of them. A message drawn for a viewpoint nobody in that culture is known to have ever reached. Number 5, the city that walked away. Between 850 and 1150 AD, the ancestral Puebloans built an extraordinary complex at Chaco Canyon in New Mexico. Pueblo Bonito alone had over 600 rooms, aligned with solar and lunar cycles, connected by straight roads stretching for miles. Then, the canyon was largely abandoned by the early 1200s. Tree-ring records confirm a severe, decades-long drought struck around 1150 AD. But similar droughts had struck before without emptying the canyon. Other theories point to resource exhaustion, internal conflict, or a collapse of the belief system. Archaeological evidence supports pieces of each. None fully confirms any of them. One of the most sophisticated building projects in North America, and the people who built it left without ever writing down why. Number 4, the caves nobody remembers building. Imagine an engineering project on the scale of a modern subway system. Now imagine that not one historical document or piece of local folklore ever mentioned it existed. In 1992, villagers in Longyu County, China, pumped water out of connected ponds and uncovered 24 massive man-made caverns underneath. some large enough to fit a stadium. Chisel marks run perfectly parallel. Ceilings and support pillars are precisely engineered to bear enormous weight. Researchers estimate the excavation required removing nearly 1 million cubic meters of solid rock by hand. Dating estimates place the caves at around 2,000 years old. But no tools, no inscriptions, and no artifacts were ever left behind to explain who built them or why. The villagers living above them for hundreds of years had no idea they were even there. Number 3, the jar that acts like a battery. Here's one that's technically functional but contextually baffling. In 1936, near Baghdad, archaeologists uncovered a sealed clay jar from the Parthian period. Inside, a copper cylinder wrapped around an iron rod, held in place with asphalt. No wires were found nearby, but the physical arrangement is functionally identical to a simple galvanic cell. In the 1940s, a researcher built replicas, filled them with grape juice or vinegar, and measured a real electrical output of about 1.1 volts. Faint, but not nothing. The problem is context. No wires, no light bulbs, no depictions of anything electrical exist anywhere else in that civilization's art or writing. A competing theory suggests it was simply used to store a sacred scroll, and any chemical reaction was accidental. Nobody can prove it was built on purpose to generate electricity. Nobody can fully explain it another way either. It just sits in a case, technically capable of a function nobody can agree it was ever meant to have. Number 2, the one-of-a-kind disc. In 1908, archaeologist Luigi Pernier uncovered a small fired clay disc in the ruins of the Phaistos Palace on Crete, dated to the Minoan Bronze Age around 1700 BC. Both sides are covered in 241 symbols. But here's the weird part. They were formed not by hand carving, but by stamping. Someone had manufactured a set of individual seal stamps, essentially a printing technology, 3,000 years before Gutenberg. And they appear to have used it exactly once. No second Phaistos disc has ever been found. No related inscription using any of the same symbols has ever surfaced anywhere in the Mediterranean world. Cryptographers have published dozens of competing decipherments over the last century. Not one has been accepted by mainstream scholars. An invention advanced enough to reshape history, apparently used for a single document, carrying a message nobody has ever read. Number 1, the temple that predates farming. This one rewrites everything. In the hills of southeastern Turkey, excavation beginning in 1995 uncovered Göbekli Tepe, radiocarbon dated to around 9600 BC. That's 6,000 years before Stonehenge, 7,000 years before the Great Pyramid. Massive T-shaped limestone pillars, some over 16 feet tall and weighing up to 10 tons, stand arranged in circles, carved with detailed reliefs of foxes, scorpions, and vultures. Built without metal tools, without the wheel, and without a single written word. For decades, archaeologists assumed monumental construction required organized farming first, enough surplus food to free up labor. Göbekli Tepe flips that timeline. Built by hunter-gatherers before large-scale agriculture existed. Some researchers now argue that the need to organize this project may have pushed humans toward farming in the first place, not the other way around. Then it gets stranger. Around 800 BC, the people using this site didn't let it fall into ruin. They deliberately buried the entire complex under tons of packed rubble and walked away. Nobody knows why hunter-gatherers organized a project on this scale before farming existed. And nobody knows why, generations later, someone made the choice to bury the whole thing on purpose. That's it for this video. More on the way. Subscribe to catch them.